Welcome to the Bandwich Tapes. I'm Brad Williams. On this episode, I'm joined by Liam Duncan, the Winnipeg-based singer, songwriter, producer, and bandleader better known as Boy Golden. Over the last few years, Liam has carved out a sound that pulls from folk, country, soul, and classic pop, while still feeling completely his own. He has built a growing reputation as one of the most interesting roots artists coming out of Canada today. His work has earned Juno and Canadian Folk Music Award recognition, and this latest record expands his sound even further. In this conversation, Liam and I talk about what it means to make a record that feels both relaxed and intentional, what he learned from working with players like Pino Palladino and Abe Rounds, and why communication, feel, and trust matter so much in the studio. We also get into songwriting, sonic identity, live arrangements, and the creative freedom that comes with writing as Boy Golden. Here's my conversation with Liam Duncan.
Winter's night, I saw you in the amber light. You cracked your second beer. Here's to a better year. Here, my friend. You got my vote of confidence. You got it. You got it. You got it if you want it. Days in electric light. Thoughts race you awake all night. Life like a traffic jam. Your motor's running but you gotta stand still. You got the time and you got the will. You got it. You got it. You got it if you want it. Sometimes you act so helpless. Can't keep your head on straight. Sometimes you act so selfish. I know just what to say. You got it. You got it. You got it if you want
it. Liam, welcome to the podcast. How are things today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to get to chat with you and hang out for a little bit. I think as I was looking at your schedule, it looks like you're maybe as we're recording this, you're on a little bit of a break for maybe a week or two before you go back out on the road.
Yeah, that's right. Got 12 days off.
Are you enjoying a little bit of time to catch your breath?
Yeah. It stays pretty busy for me even in the off times, but it's nice to be home.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been spending a lot of time with Best of Our Possible Lives and just loving it, man. Just so good. So many things I want to chat about. But the one thing that stands out to me in listening to it is that it feels very relaxed yet intentional at the same time. Is that an accurate representation of it? It's just a really relaxed vibe, but everything sounds so intentional and very thought out as it happened.
Yeah, it was kind of a mix. I definitely spent a lot of time working on the songcraft, and I wrote a lot of songs for it, and then ended up with these ones and spent a lot of time in pre-production, sort of just making the forms and everything as good as they could be. But then once we got into the studio, it was pretty free. I worked with pretty amazing studio musicians and friends of mine, all of whom just have great ideas, and we just sort of let those flow. So I never really felt stressed when I was recording it. So makes sense. It would feel relaxed, but then maybe it would also make sense it felt intentional because there was a lot of intentional work that went into it as well.
Yeah. The certainly quite some heavy hitters on that album. I started out as a drummer and a singer, but eventually became a bass player. So when I saw the name Pino Palladino on the album, I was, of course, before I even listened the first time, I'm like, well, I can't wait what this is going to be, because he's kind of my North Star as a bass player. He is some kind of a good player. Tell me about working with that rhythm section of him and Abe Rounds, because they are both just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you said it. They're both amazing. The thing that I noticed about working with a rhythm section that is that good, that locked in, and they play together a lot too, so they do like know each other's playing really well, was just that it felt so easy to sing over. And I never felt like I had to worry about my time or my groove, because it was just already settled. Always, it was just always settled, you know.
Yeah, no, I noticed that. I noticed that your singing is just, it's so in the pocket with what they're doing, and yeah, it's just, it all just it just locks in. Yeah, and come on, man, when you're with a rhythm section like that, I mean, they just elevate everything else around them. Yeah, it just sounds so nice.
Yeah, you can't lose. You can't lose with a great rhythm section.
And I noticed that you're playing a lot of guitar on that. Did you track that at the same time with them, or did you come back and record? What was the order of that happening?
A mix. It was largely kind of live off the floor. A lot of the electric guitar that you hear is my friend Austin Parahoniak, who plays on all my records and tours in my band and is a really close collaborator of mine. So he was down in LA with us. So we were all of his parts were live off the floor. All of Pino and Abe's parts were live off the floor. Mine sometimes were, but sometimes if I wanted to redo the vocal, I would also just quickly redo the guitar just to get a cleaner guitar take.
Yeah. It sounds live, which is, I really love that about the album. It's not sounding like everyone flying in their tracks and it being assembled after the fact. It sounds like a group of human beings in a room together playing music, and that is so appealing to me, and it really translates well on this album.
Thanks. Yeah, obviously we did do overdubs, and we did do some multi-tracking and all that, but most of the record was there when we left LA. Yeah.
Tell me about working with Robbie Lakritz, who I think you two co-produced this. How did that relationship with him develop? How did you guys start working with each other?
The first thing that we did together was Robbie actually mixed a project that I produced for a Canadian artist named William Prince, who was really great. And that was our first time working together, but I had been interested in working with Robbie before that, and we'd met backstage at a Feist show one time, and my management had a close relationship with him already, so I think eventually he just heard a bunch of my demos and said, yeah, let's do this. And he was the one who was like, you know who I think would be a good bass player for this? Pino Palladino. I was like, yeah, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, what wouldn't he be a good bass player for? But then he actually had the connection to make it happen. So he was great on that front. We also did a lot of pre-production going into the album, not in person, just me sending iteration after iteration of various songs back and forth to him, which was really, really helpful for me. And he also did the rather heavy lift of working through a whole bunch of demos that I had made, like something like 80 demos that I sent him to try and pare it down to the 12 songs that you hear on this album.
Good goddamn, what a masterpiece, laid out on the street in front of me. Good goddamn, another tragedy, laid out on the street in front of me. Prices go up and they don't come down. Costs $40 just to hang around. I know people sleeping on the ground. Prices go up and they don't come down. I wanna know where my money went. I want a new fucking president. Wanna believe that God is, but
how is that collaborative relationship with two people kind of wearing the production hat on the record? Is there a lot of kind of give and take on that? Do you kind of hand off some responsibilities to each other in the studio, or how does that relationship work?
The biggest difference for me was that I just didn't do any of the technical production work. I think I touched Pro Tools like one time while making the album, which that was really, really nice. All my other records have been self-produced, sometimes self-mixed. And I was like, I don't want to do that again. It's so much work. And I do feel like I had to compromise sometimes my own performance, or sometimes my engineering was compromised because I was doing too many things. So he just took some of that pressure off of me, all of that pressure off of me. And I think allowed me to just perform better. And frankly, I wasn't really expecting to get a co-production credit. That was not discussed before. I thought, Robbie produced it, so he should get the credit. But he was the one who was like, I think you should have a co-production credit on this. And I was like, okay, fair enough.
Wow. He sounds like just a terrible person. That's so nice of him to that. How cool is that, right? To suggest that. Did you have moments of, and I think all of us as musicians, we fight a varying levels of insecurity and imposter syndrome and all of those things. I think otherwise we probably would go into a different line of work, maybe. Did you fight some of that working with these names that have such a resume? I mean, did you have to kind of put your feelings aside and say, I know I can go in here and do my thing and it's enough? Or did you fight some of those kind of internal things as you were in the studio with them?
Not when I was in the studio. No. I mean, once you're in the studio, you're all on the same team. So I didn't feel that way when we were working together at all. It felt super comfortable and relaxed. And I felt like everyone had the songs, just like was trying to serve the song as best they could. So I didn't feel that while we were working together. Beforehand, for sure. Was I nervous? Yeah, absolutely. I felt like I was making my first ever record because it was just so different from what I was used to doing. But the extra pressure was really good for me. And I spent more time than I ever have just doing all that pre-production, shedding my own parts, trying to make sure that when I showed up to the studio and to play with some of my heroes, I wasn't going to be feeling like I should have done more work beforehand, So I think the extra pressure was good. But in the studio, I mean, that's what makes these people great studio musicians. They're not, you can put your ego aside or whatever. Maybe it didn't feel like there was any ego in the studio. It just felt like, we'll do what's best for the song. Like the few times, I was giving notes sometimes to Pino or Abe, who are both like fabulous musicians. Feels a bit insane to give them notes, but like the notes were not like, hey, you're rushing or dragging. It was just like, I'm just not quite sure this is the perfect feel for this song. I think maybe it has to feel a little more this way or a little more that way, or the emotion I'm trying to get out is not quite this. So the notes were just artful, and then their playing was so artful that it was easy. It was easy, man.
Yeah. And I would imagine that they, like you said, they have careers like they do because they leave their ego at the door, and they're
people want to work
team
with
players.
them.
And that's it. How do you typically like to communicate in the studio? Is it a verbal thing? Is it behind an instrument? How do you like to convey musical ideas with the people you're working with?
That's a really good question, actually. It's really depends on the musician I'm working with. And the more you get to know the people you're working with, the easier that gets, I think, right? Because even just I'll take my live band as an example, because we've been touring together for a long time. Different people in the band need to hear notes in different ways based on how maybe they grew up playing music. Like I think of my longtime bass player, Corey, who's been touring with me for 10 years nearly now. And the way he learned how to play music was just jamming, right? Just jamming with friends and stuff. And so it doesn't always like being like, oh, hit the dominant there or don't hit it there.
Right.
Isn't always as clear as just like playing it a couple times and being like, okay, now try this. Try just hanging on this note. Okay, how did that feel? Like that's more like how we will communicate, just by playing it more times and maybe recording it and listening it back. And then there's other people like Austin, who I work with all the time. Austin and I can communicate with words really, really easily because we kind of have a shared lingo, whether that's words that we've made up, like, oh, it needs to be greasier, or it needs to be this or that. Like, we know what we're talking about when we talk about greasy or when we talk about smooth, whatever. And we both have the kind of the training also to communicate with numbers or to communicate with theory. So I think it really depends on who I'm talking to. But when we were in the studio with all those folks, they can all talk in theory. So I think it's useful to know at least a bit of theory, because it's just it makes the shared language a little bit easier, because you never know what someone's background is. So if you have that basis of like maybe the Nashville number system or something like that, which is how I usually talk to people, that does make it go a little quicker.
Took all of my high hopes, buried them in the sand. I buried all of them bad jokes, honey, and was dealing with the matter at hand. Faded jeans and a pipe dream, we were taking a stand. We knew that it was a long shot, honey, but we were gonna take the chance. Take a chance. You can tear things apart. You can make a boy cry. You can break a man's heart, but you can't break mine. No, you can't break mine. No, you can't break mine. No, you can't break mine.
I'm the same way, and I think it's such an essential skill, as you talking about your touring group, to understand that you can approach delivering information. It's not a one size fits all thing, and that you have to adjust your approach depending on who the musician is. And having had my own bands in the past, I mean, there's a lot of communication skill that has to be developed and conveyed, as well as understanding just the best way to approach people with that information. And yeah, that can be a tough thing. So yeah, kudos to you for understanding that maybe with this person I need to explain it this way, but then I'm going to explain it this way with this person. And not all musicians understand how to do that. And that's a really great skill.
Mm-hmm. I think I learned a lot of that being a side musician in other people's bands, and sometimes taking on the role of like translating for the artist, right? I'm like, oh, I can feel like the artist is not liking how this is sounding. And then I think that's also my producer brain is like, okay, I know what they want. Somehow I can sometimes sense,
Yeah.
I'm like, I know what they're looking for here, and they're just not communicating it clearly enough. So yeah, I think I learned how to do a lot of that, just producing for other artists and playing in other people's bands, and also watching other producers work as well.
I think every side player at one point or another in their career should have to lead their own project, because I think when you do, it dramatically changes the way you approach being a band member when it's not your project.
Yeah.
You become a lot easier to work with when you understand the struggle of the person that's having to put their name on the project.
Totally. I mean, in our live touring act now, Austin, who I've been talking about, is the musical director now, not me, which also has been awesome because he is such a good communicator, super sensitive, incredible musician, gets me very deeply, gets the music very deeply because he's involved in all the recordings. So I love that. I love not having to think about some of those things or worry about communicating it. Sometimes if I have something to communicate, I just tell Austin and let him do it, you know? And it's just another way
Absolutely.
of me letting go of a bit of control in order to ideally perform my own part better.
Yeah. What type of, what instrumentation are you touring with? What are you taking out on the road? Is it full band?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what we're doing. So we just did a month-long tour with our full band, which is a drummer who sings, bass player, Fontaine, who's on the record. She sings and plays percussion. I play 12-string and electric guitar and keys, harmonica, sometimes banjo. And then Austin plays various stringed instruments, mostly guitar, but he can do other stuff too. But then we just did like a trio tour opening up for our friend Cat Clyde, where it was just me on mostly 12-string, Austin on mostly baritone guitar, and Fontaine on vocals and percussion. So, and sometimes I tour solo, you know. So whatever works, whatever works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but we kind of every time we spend time working out the arrangements and making it feel like a Boy Golden show, no matter what we're doing.
Yeah. How do you feel? Do you have a different relationship with these songs that you put down on this record now that you've gone out and toured it for a while? Have they taken on kind of a new shape, or is it feeling kind of like what you captured in the studio?
No, I don't try to recreate what we captured in the studio very much. Sometimes it's just not worth it. It's like that's not how the people I play with play, right? So we have to find our new arrangements. And also sometimes it's like, oh, we want to play this song, but it doesn't like fit in the set. So how can we make it fit? Maybe we speed it up. Maybe we make it sound a little more country or something like that. Yeah, I'm really like open to the songs sounding a bunch of different ways. As a songwriter, I feel like I write songs that can be done in many different ways, and it's fun for me to do them in different ways. I think that's cool. So yeah, sometimes we try and cop things straight from the record, but a lot of the time I'm like, no, let's just make a new version that works live.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship, I think, with bands that go out and try to basically recreate the record. I mean, it's impressive, I suppose, to a certain degree, but at the same time, it's like, if I wanted to hear that, I would have just listened to the record, right? You know, I want to hear, you know, I want to hear what you can, a level of energy that you can bring to in front of an audience with this, you know?
Me too. And I grew up playing in bands. So that's what I love to do. I love to just make it sound like a band, you know, not like a songwriter. Yeah. And part of that is we don't use any tracks or anything like that. So we just
bless you for that.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't judge. Whatever. If you can make a track sound awesome, go for it. We've never been able to because our set is so there's a lot of improvisation in the set and a lot of focus on that kind of musicianship. So having a track just locks us into something that we don't want to be locked into. But I'm not opposed to it, you know, whatever works.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you were playing in bands and, you know, early on in your musical life, because I hear so many influences in your sound. I hear, you know, soul music. I hear country music. I mean, it's like really checks a lot of boxes. I mean, what were you listening to as a music listener when you were realizing this is what you wanted to do?
I mean, my first love was probably classic rock. Tom Petty and Guns N' Roses was my favorite band. AC/DC. I loved that growing up. And then I found folk music when I was 11 or 12. And I listened to so much folk music, a lot of bluegrass. Todd Snyder was one of my heroes. Listened to Williams, Gillian Welch, all those folks. And then as I got older in high school, listened super widely, basically just trying to find the newest, coolest music I could. So I listened to a lot more modern music, hip hop, but also like indie stuff. And then in my early 20s, when I really started writing my own songs, it's still really wide. It's still really wide. I like it. I like it all. Like, I feel like I can find something in every genre that moves me. So, yeah, I think the reason why you hear so many different influences is because I have a lot of different influences. And as I said, as a songwriter, I consider myself more in the lineage of people like Paul Simon, for example, who just write really great songs that can fit in a lot of different genres. And he's done so many genres over the years and made albums that sound this way or that way. And that's kind of what I've always wanted to do as well. Definitely is there's a strong folk and country influence and roots influence, because that's my heart.
Don't complicate my life. Don't bring me down to your side. I like to live under clear blue skies. Don't complicate my life. I won't ever tell a lie. And never ever waste your time. I'll be there when the sun done rise. I won't ever tell a lie. We can own our place in the mess of things. Find our way in time. In the best of our possible lives. You're by my side.
You took the words out of my mouth. I mean, a good song is a good song, and it doesn't matter where it resides in the record bin at the store, right? It's going to convey the information that it needs to. And no, that's the thing I enjoy about your music, is that I think it honors everything that you've picked up along the way, but it's also pushing it in this really exciting direction that is uniquely your own, which I really appreciate.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I can always hear all the influences, but I also, if I listen to the whole album, I'm like, what else is this like? Well, nothing really, which is both a challenge. It's like a challenge from a marketing point of view for the people I work with, but also maybe a blessing in another way, because if you can really connect with people with music that feels really unique or something like that, then you're in a bit of a lane of your own, that's always been my dream. I want to be in a lane of my own where I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also notice a strong sense of like sonic identity in your recordings, and like it's warm, it's slightly vintage, but not like retro for the sake of it, which I do think a lot of projects sometimes do that. Is that an intentional thing that you've done along the way to kind of capture that, I guess, timeless sound to the way that it's sonically created?
Yeah, I was really obsessed with sonics for a lot of time, making my own records, working with tape machines a lot, and trying to just make things sound great. So I'm glad you feel like it has a sonic identity. I like the way this new album sounds a lot. I feel like it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's hi-fi and punchy and exciting, but it also does have that somewhat vintage sound to it anyways. Yeah, a lot of that is the instruments you choose and your instrumentation you choose, right? Like most of what you're hearing on this album is like things that push air. So bass amps, guitar amps, drums, vocals, guitars, they move air, and then you have to capture them with a microphone. And that's a different sound than synths or drum machines or whatever, samples. Both are great sounds. And sometimes I blend both, but I think a lot of what feels vintage in this recording is just choice of instrument. And then, so you pick the instrumentation that moves air like that, and you capture that. But then what drums are you using? What amps are you using? What guitars are you using? And if you choose those instruments right, then you end up with kind of an old school sound. And then if you choose your mics wisely as well, some things are going to sound a little more retro than other things. I like recording acoustic guitars with dynamic mics. A lot of people like recording them with condenser mics, but I like the dynamic sound because it sounds more like the 70s to me. So various things like that. It all lends itself to an older sound.
Yeah. And I noticed just some of the choices of some muffling on the drums, the way the kick drums sounded. Yeah, everything's just, man, it's just sonically, it's just so wonderful. It's like Ringo's kit, but it also sounds like, listening to something that was recorded on the West Coast in the 1970s, like Russ Kunkel or something like that. It like has all of these wonderful different just sonic possibilities. Yeah. So I really appreciate that. How do you balance polish versus leaving things imperfect on the tracks? Is it kind of a little bit of a struggle, a rub to get the track that may not be the most perfect, but it captures the right moment and the right energy of the song?
Yeah, it's just feel. There is usually rub there. There's some people in the room are like, you should fix that. And then I'm like, no, we shouldn't fix that. Or vice versa. Sometimes I have to be convinced to not fix a vocal take that I think sounds kind of off. But the producer, or Austin, or someone's like, no, that's a great vocal take. Usually the best way to decide is to just fix it and then see if it's better. I kind of subscribe to like, if there's an idea in the room that someone has, you should try it. And then you can always go back because it's not the 1970s anymore and we're not on tape machines. So you can just undo it. Right. And I just feel like you don't know what an idea sounds like until you do it. So what's the harm in just doing it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you like a lot of takes? Like if you're recording yourself, do you like to do it in the fewest amount of takes as possible?
Definitely. Yeah. Within reason.
Because I think I agree with you. I mean, unless you're Steely Dan, perhaps, I think the more you record it, the more, I don't know, maybe defensive is the right word, but I just think you just start thinking about it too much.
Yeah, there's a couple of first takes on this record, just because that rhythm section is so hot. It's like, you just capture something in the first try that's like, well, damn, you're probably not going to do that again. That was really cool. And then maybe the answer is like, okay, we keep that whole take, but you made a mistake here, so let's fix that. And then you maintain the energy of the take, but you don't have the mistake that you don't want. But then there was other songs that took us the whole day because we ended up doing something really unexpected with them, like Meadowsweet on the record is an example of that. That song took all day because it just ended up sounding really different than I would have anticipated, and it took us a long time to figure it out. So both things can be good, just song to song can change dramatically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Looking back at the album, does it feel like a snapshot of a specific time in your life, or is it something broader than that?
This one feels a little bit broader to me because I wrote these songs over the course of three years, maybe 4 years. So it's a lot of my life is in this one record, just because all the other records I have out, I recorded and wrote them in a really short period, very productive, but short period of time. And then it took a long time for all those records to come out. So while they were coming out, I was still writing new music all the time. So it feels more like a culmination of a bunch of effort than it does a snapshot of one time. I want to make another record soon, hopefully. And I think that one will feel maybe more like a snapshot because I just won't have as much time to make it.
Take it any farther, I'll be on my way, driving south across the border where nobody knows my name. Looking out the window, Lake Michigan breaks. I can see the water boil and crash up against the bay. Somehow we stayed that way. Somehow we stayed that way. Somehow we living in the foothills was not the life for me. So I left a trail of bluebells from here down to Tennessee. Left them and forgot them, but they put down their roots. Now the road north is a garden, sending me back home to you. Somehow we stayed that way. Somehow we stayed that way. Somehow we
I think that there's value in both approaches to it, because some of my favorite albums are ones where people have just gone in and like press record and captured the record in a day or two. But there are some that have taken a long time, and they're both valuable for different reasons. But yeah, I like that idea, especially, you kind of getting in there while it's hot, and as you're touring, and you probably feel like you're firing on all cylinders right now, finishing the record and then going on the road. And I imagine you're probably feeling pretty creative these days.
Yeah, I think so. It's tough writing on the road. It's hard. I capture little ideas here and there, but you need time to actually really write something. Usually, it's not like the writing takes a long time. I can still usually write a song in an hour or less, but you need time during the day to like settle your nervous system to the point where the music flows somewhat effortlessly. I also find I usually underestimate how tired I'm going to be when I come home for a break like this after just ripping for like a month and a bit. My brain is just like mush. But I feel pretty loose on stage, so that feels good. And then I come home and I just crash out for a couple days.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the name Boy Golden, which is such a cool name, by the way. I have to say that first and foremost. What does that name represent to you that maybe your own name didn't as an artist?
I think just a bit more freedom and fun to have an alter ego. The name comes from my mom's last name, Golden, which I always just thought was a great last name. And there is a bit of a connection to my hometown here of Winnipeg, because there's a big statue of a naked golden man on our legislative building called the Golden Boy. And so that's where a lot of people think the name comes from. It's not where the name comes from, but I'm not going to deny that there's some sort of a link there. Just wanted to have more freedom, really.
Yeah.
To be a different person.
Did it did it change? Have you noticed that it changed the way that you write and the way that you record?
Mm-hmm.
Having kind of a little bit of almost like a compartment or a place to kind of put yourself to the side for a little bit and then step into that role.
Totally. I feel like when I was writing under my own name, it kind of had to be a little more autobiographical. And now when I write, it's a mix. Like every song, there's usually some fiction and some truth. And the fiction also feels true to me in a way, you know? And so I like the opportunity to embellish my own life a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's really cool. I'm not a songwriter, but I have such respect for songwriters who can know how to navigate their own life in and out of their writing and know what to put in and what to embellish or what to omit. And it sounds like you have an intentional path on doing that as a writer. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Storytelling, you know, there's, in every myth, there's a whole bunch of truth. And in every myth, there's a bunch of exaggeration and metaphor and analogy. And really, like, we live in metaphor. It's kind of the only way to explain a lot of complicated subjects or feelings. I'm reading this book right now called The Edge of Space and Time. It's a brand new book by this theoretical physicist. And everything that I've read in the book so far is just explaining that how metaphors work in physics and like how strong they can be, and also that every metaphor eventually breaks down, and that a metaphor breaking down doesn't necessarily mean that the metaphor isn't useful. Like a metaphor can be useful to a point. And then of course, at some point you take the metaphor too far and then it breaks down. So I love storytelling, and I think that we are a storytelling species. And that's how I think about songwriting as well. I like reading old myths. I like reading old stories. And I feel like I'm always infusing songs, my own songwriting, with like a bit of myth and a bit of language that is definitely stolen or borrowed from other people's myths or stories.
Yeah. Well, and I would imagine there's a piece of it that's like helping you understand, you know, as you're writing, it's helping you understand life, but there's some of it that you're documenting it too, right? There's that, you know, that dual role of what you're accomplishing as a writer.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I agree.
Yeah. What is so, you know, you're talking about going into the studio. Do you hope to use some of those songs that maybe you didn't select for this album and pick some for the next project? Or are you kind of wanting to write a new batch of songs?
I'm definitely writing
for the next album.
Songs. Definitely already working on a whole bunch of new songs. We'll see. You know, I think there are a few that were cut from this album that maybe deserve a spot on maybe another album or something. But also sometimes they don't make the cut for a reason. So best not to be too precious. I'm a quantity over quality kind of guy when it comes to songwriting. Just write more and you'll find the good stuff. But there's also some other reasons why I want to write more. And some of those reasons are I'm always trying to like outdo myself and push into new territory. And one of the things I'm wanting to experiment more with is like smashing songs together. Like Paul McCartney does a lot, you know, especially in the Wings era. It'd be like a jet, you know. There's like 4 songs in that one song.
Yeah, like Band on the Run. I mean,
Exactly.
it's like a suite. Yeah, I agree.
I love that. So I think I don't know how he went about that, but how I'm trying to go about that is just like collect a whole bunch of material. And then eventually, if theoretically I have enough time on my hands, I can start experimenting with like, can this song go inside this other song? And then become like a more a stronger song, or maybe that doesn't work and maybe they just have to exist on their own. I'm not sure, but I want to experiment more with that. I want to experiment more with writing in the box. Usually what I do is I make songs on a guitar or keyboard or something, and then I go and make a demo of it on my tape machine. But I'm feeling a little hemmed in by that. So I want to do some more writing with my computer, making tracks and then writing over tracks. I think could be kind of cool. Not sure. Just trying to experiment, trying to keep myself interested and challenged.
I like that. I like that idea. Just kind of put different parameters around your process, and who knows what kind of spark it would light, and who knows what kind of different ideas would come out as a result of that. I think that's a really, really interesting way to evolve and grow as a writer, to kind of change things up for yourself. I mean, it's almost like, working out or exercising, that, changing things up in your routine is going to strengthen what who you are. And I think that's just going to broaden you as a writer to, place some different parameters on your craft. I think it's so cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to try it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Liam, I'm such a fan of your music. I'm feel a little late to the game and learning about your music, but I'm sure glad that I'm here now.
Well, you're not. I'm late enjoying to the game. A lot of people. A lot of people have yet to glom onto it. So,
well, I see why. I see why the reach is getting bigger and bigger, because I love what you do and how you do it, and just congratulations on this album and continued success. And yeah, man, I'm a fan. So thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and best of luck to you.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow or subscribe to the Bandwich Tapes wherever you listen, and consider leaving a rating or review. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.